Hey, everybody, and welcome to Generally Speaking, the podcast that bridges the worlds of pop culture and personal development. I'm your host, Jennifer Snook. I am so happy to be here with you guys today. I really hope everything is going well in your world. I'm about to get in the car to head up to Tony's funeral. I told you guys that my former fiance died last Sunday, and we're not tearing up now, you guys. I have a whole 5-hour drive to do that and get it all out. I mean, the truth is we all have to face days that we dread, and I'm about to walk into one of them. That's just the fact of it. I mean, everyone and anyone who loved Tony is about to walk into that day. So here we go. But before I get on the road, we still have a lot to talk about. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you reach out and smash that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. Okay, you guys, we have to get into Teresa because I know that the reconciliation hasn't even really started yet, but already Teresa is hedging her bets. Teresa's camp is talking again, which I'm pretty sure at this point consists of Gia and Louie. So they're trying to say that Teresa is indeed ready to move forward, but that now it's going to hinge on whether or not Melissa is capable of being a genuine person. And I mean, can you believe that? The door is hardly cracked and already they're laying the foundation and trying to paint Melissa out as the potential problem. And honestly, nothing's even happened yet. And honestly, you guys, I have said it before and I will say it again. I would love to see that family reconcile. I truly would. But honestly, how much can you really expect from a woman who is hell-bent on blaming the rest of the world for her current state? And you know it's hilarious because on her podcast, Turning the Tables, which I listen to so you don't have to, Teresa is constantly saying two things. Number one, she's saying that she only ever responds, that she's never the one that starts the problem. She's always the one that's responding. She's always the one that has to be defensive. But in the next breath, the second thing she always says is that she firmly believes that the energy you put out in the world is the energy you get back from the world. But she never makes the connection that all that stuff that she feels like she's being defensive for is really just a response to what she puts out in the world. She is the one that emits the signal that the people are responding to. Teresa says all the time to almost every guest she has on, well, yeah, I really believe that the energy you put out into the world is what you get back. Yeah, she says, yeah, that's the way life works. And yes, exactly, Teresa. And that's why we all feel exactly the way we feel about you, sweetie. And the fact that you can't see that is exactly why everyone else says that you can't take accountability, because you don't see the part that you play. So how can you take accountability for it? Once you finally understand that your shit starts with you, then we might be able to get somewhere. And speaking of Teresa and Louie, you guys, there is big Bo Dietl news. You know Bo Dietl, right? You remember Bo Dietl. And if you don't remember Bo Dietl, you guys, he's the retired New York Police Department detective turned private investigator that Louie Ruelas once called one of his closest friends, and who Louie claimed was the guy that dug up dirt on all of Teresa's cast members. And if you remember, all of that Louie PI Bo Dietl bullshit, that's that weird ass shit that really got the ball rolling, right? Because nobody on the cast wanted to have anything to do with people that were investigating them. That just crossed all the lines. And good old Mr. Dietl recently talked to Radar Online and gave them a little Louie update. He said that Louie had asked him to do something, but it had nothing to do with the cast, and I'm sure it didn't. It was probably about Vanessa, Louie's ex, the one that he was in court with, and the one that proved that Bo Dietl and Louie actually sent a fake patient into her therapy office to try and get info. But I digress. Bo Dietl says that when Louie made that claim that Bo got dirt on everyone, that it was total bullshit. He says, and I went on to tell him, don't throw my name around like that unless you're going to be hiring me, because if you pay me, I'll do it legally. Bo said that it was all just too much nonsense for him because in his life, he deals with real drama. Killings, kidnappings, corporate investigations, real shit. He says that Louie throwing his name out there like he was getting dirt on everyone is just embarrassing. And speaking of Mean Girls, you guys, shit is really starting to blow up over in OC. That finale starts tonight and shit is going sideways for Gretchen. More of the shit that she was saying on social media has been coming out. I mean, one of the posts that she liked that really stood out to me was, when you open the door to homosexuality, you open the door to pedophilia? What? I mean, there's more, but the first part of it is just such bullshit. Why even go on? But it does. It goes on to say, you'll never win by normalizing perversion. What? When you open the door to homosexuality? Sorry, newsflash, homosexuality has nothing to do with pedophilia, bottom line. I mean, honestly, I couldn't be more disgusted by that statement. And I don't even want to talk about Gretchen or this whole thing anymore because it's just so distorted to me. And honestly, I would take Katie Janela and her lies over Gretchen and her gross self any day. Also, you guys, it looks like big congratulations are in order for Ariana Madix. It looks like she is officially engaged to her boyfriend Daniel. She was spotted in Fiji with a huge rock on her fingers. So cheers, kids. Here's to a happy and healthy life together. And no, I am not sponsored by Waterloo yet, but I do love it. Waterloo to me, you guys, is hands down the best sparkler. I mean, just by a mile. What do you think? Which one's your favorite? You know, I tried the bubbly, can't stand that. The LaCroix, however you want to say it. I'm not into that one. But this one is my fave. I'm telling you, the grape, the strawberry, where it's at. And we're getting a bit of an update on the whole Wendy Osefo of it all from none other than Stacey Rush, and God knows if you can believe anything that she says. Apparently, she was recently with Wendy. She said that the two of them shared a deep emotional embrace. And then she went on to act like she was her campaign manager or something. And she said, I'm really looking forward to the world hearing Wendy's story. And yeah, so am I. She says she can't wait for the world to hear Wendy's truth. And honestly, can I just ask you, how delusional is this woman? I mean, honestly, she's full-blown wacko jacko. And not because she's implying that Wendy's innocent, but just because she thinks that in any world, any of us would believe anything that she says. And I'm not saying that's a fact. I'm just saying that that's my opinion. Plus, and let's be real, we all know that Wendy is guilty as sin itself. You know what else is my opinion, you guys? I was just having a conversation with my daughter about how my new favorite social media app is Venmo. I mean, because do you guys ever pay attention to Venmo and how much you can see about your friends' lives and what they're doing and who they're paying and why they're paying it? And then you wonder, is that real? Is that really what they're paying it for? Is it really for a cup of coffee? I mean, Venmo's where it's at, you guys. You got to tap into the Venmo of it all. It's strange. Also weird. I mean, and why do we need to know who our friends and acquaintances are paying and why they're paying them? I mean, I think it's really smart because it does have that voyeuristic quality where you can see what other people are doing, right? I mean, why? Why can we see? Because we could use that app, right, without seeing. Why is that even an option? It's because it's like Zelle meets Facebook and it works. I mean, honestly, I use it all the time at the salon because we have to pay for our parking with cash, which I never have. So I always get cash from our stylist and then I Venmo them. It's just a fair swap for cash, but now I am trying to put it down for all kinds of kooky things. I'm telling you, Venmo's where it's at. You guys check it out. And then there's Kenya Moore, who is reportedly facing big financial troubles with her Kenya Moore hair spa. Court documents reveal that she is over $90,000 behind on rent for the property. According to reports, the landlord states that she hasn't made a rent payment since last November 2024. Kenya's trying to say that when they were getting the business up and off the ground, that she invested $250,000 into the property. So she's trying to say that like that should be her equity. She says that the landlords never paid her back, so she doesn't feel like she owes them any more rent. And even though Kenya's appealed this eviction notice, court records show that she is still legally responsible for that back rent and the interest and all the additional fees. So as it stands now, the future of Kenya Moore Hair Spa is completely unknown. All right, you guys, it's time for reality check, and we are heading on over to Potomac today. Potomac was on fire and hilarious, and it is honestly, it is really, I love this show. And the ladies are off to the races, the horse races, the tracks. You know, they're on their way to watch the ponies at the Preakness, where Wendy is the official hostess. Once they arrive, Kiarna passes out a little cash to anybody who can shake it. So Stacy got screwed because that poor girl can't shake shit. And when she tries to shake it, it looks like she's having a seizure. While most of the girls go to place their bets, Wendy says to Giselle, just bring up my name to Kiarna and she'll talk about me for 7 minutes. And Giselle goes, huh? Didn't you two go to temple together? And Wendy says, but I didn't know her. We didn't hang out. And honestly, I heard that she didn't graduate. Giselle says, well, that's strange because she said just the other day that she graduated in '09. Let me check my sources. Wendy says, I think something transpired and that's why she left. Then the ladies all gather back together and they all head down to the track, all gung-ho to win some bucks. And honestly, they're not down there for more than 5 minutes before some guy walks up to Ashley and hits on her. Honestly, the stiffest guy you've ever seen. He says, you're really interesting. I'd like to get to know you better. Maybe take you out. Ugh. Then at the lunch table, Stacy uses Ashley's robust dating life as an entrance point to ask Giselle about hers. She says, Giselle, do you have a boyfriend? And Giselle says, no. She says, you don't? And Giselle says, no, I'm single. Then Ashley changes the subject and calls out Tia for calling her rude. And Tia says, well, you invited the girls that I was with to come over to your house. And it was no big deal. It was just tongue in cheek. And then the whole table goes full tilt trying to understand the definition of tongue in cheek. Ashley pushes the issue and Tia comes back with, listen, Ashley, I already told you it was tongue in cheek. And I told you what tongue in cheek meant. And I promise you, if I think you're rude, I'll say that you're being rude. Keep up. What I said was tongue in cheek. You can either wrap your head around that or not. I don't know what you're struggling with. And Ashley says, I'm not struggling. And honestly, I was loving every word that was coming out of Tia's mouth. I really feel like she is the fresh blood that this show needs. I think she is great. I think she is exactly what this show needs. And here's why. Not only did she school the shit out of Ashley in the most gracious way, but then she turned the tables. And I'm not talking about the way Teresa does. Tia goes on to say, I do have an issue though with you. And she points to Giselle. And she says to Ashley, when I met Giselle, she said to me, the minute my friend Ashley meets you, she's going to fancy you. And then she says, and nothing, not even a bum pinch. And to me, honestly, chef's kiss. I'm telling you guys something. Tia is masterful. Masterful. And then from around the corner comes Jassy, the same girl that was at lunch with Stacy last week. Do you remember when they were both talking shit about Giselle having that secret boyfriend? She goes around the table. She says hello to all the girls. She also is a wag, the same way Angel is. And it doesn't take long before Angel slips into conversation that her guy was a 10-year starter. And I'm thinking 10-year starter sounds like a sourdough. When Jazzy says back that her guy is on year 7, Angel says, well, I'm happy for you, sis. And honestly, it just felt so fake. And then it's race time. The girls all run out to watch, and Ashley asks Kiarna if she's okay with Jassy. She says, I'm just curious because when she walked into the room, your body language changed. And Kiarna says, well, I thought we were cool, and then I heard that she was talking shit behind my back. So Kiarna calls Jassy over to come over and talk about it, and she says, Jassy, I hear that you and Stacy have a problem with me. And just as they're about to get into it, Wendy puts the full-blown kibosh on any and all confrontation. Because, excuse me, the First Lady of Maryland is approaching. Wendy shuts them all down so that she can put on her most appropriate voice. She turns to the girls and says, keep it classy. She walks over and greets the First Lady, who didn't want to be on camera and honestly only engaged with Wendy for a minute. Then the ladies revert back to their regularly scheduled programming. I mean, at this point, Wendy was the one who planted the seed, but now she's got these two girls bickering back and forth like wild animals. Suddenly, someone crosses a line and talks about the kids, and then Queen Giselle steps up, wraps them up, and herds them out. But honestly, at this point, these girls are like little gremlins and they are just not letting it go. They're screaming insults at each other, so the group splits into two and Giselle says the class is in the trash. Then it's time for the obligatory packing scenes because the girls are going to Nevis, remember? And much to the chagrin of many, Jassy's coming along. But unfortunately for her, she's not sitting up front in first class with the girls. She's in the back, in coach, but according to her, the champagne tastes the same. The girls land, and while they're waiting for their boat to come and take them to their island, Ashley passes out champagne wearing an outfit that looked like she got it off of a Dolly Parton stage show. I mean, did anybody else clock that? What was that? But anyway, then somebody asks about intentions for the trip, and Angel speaks up and she says, my intention is for everyone to get to know me. But in the next second, she almost gets sent home because the woman comes up and says, we have a problem here because of your camouflage. She nearly gets deported back to where she came from because that dingaling didn't read the memo that you're not allowed to bring camouflage into the country. And I mean, what did she think, that they were kidding? Why would production give you that note? They didn't just make that up. And honestly, why was that? Does anyone know? If by chance you know why they don't allow camo, please leave me a comment because I'm so curious. Anyway, once they get Angel's shit sorted, Giselle tells them all that this trip is actually for Jassy's bachelorette party. So surprise! And then they get into a conversation about balls. Yeah, balls. Sucking them, eating them, licking them. Stacy says, ew! But Tia, who is technically a princess, she says that she reserves the right to suck a ball or two. Then the boat comes to get the girls, and as they're all heading to the island, Giselle decides she needs to stir the pot just a little more. So she mentions that some of the girls didn't want Jassy to come, namely Kay and Angel. Kay says, well, I'm not phony and I don't like to be fake. And Jassy says, well, if you don't like to be fake, then why did you say that about Wendy? And Wendy says, what? Was she talking about me? And Jassy says, yes. And Wendy says, well, then I am very confused. Kiarna says, Jassy, you are full of shit. Kiarna says, Jassy, you're full of shit. You're not even here. And Jassy goes, oh, I'm here. And Kiarna comes back with, aren't you always the side chick? And she says, always the fiance, something you'll never be. And literally the chaos and the stress on this boat right now are so contentious that I would have left. I mean, that would have been, I would have stayed on that boat. I would have gone back and I would have been out. I mean, it's horrible. And Giselle says that she's the only one that knows how to have a good time. This isn't fun. But then finally, everybody does calm down. They start relaxing. They start dancing. The dancing then becomes twerking, and Wendy is laughing her ass off. She's laughing at Stacy's dancing and says that it's even worse than last year. And honestly, that's at least one thing that we do know Wendy is being honest about. The ladies all land on the island and they're greeted by colorful stilt walkers and coconuts. And as they hop into their golf carts to head to the villas, you hear Giselle say, I want to take a look at that picture. She says, we're going to talk about this at dinner. And then to camera, Giselle says, you know, I'm not on social media much, but I did see a picture of Tia and Angel. She says, and I saw Tia and it looked like Tia and I recognized Tia. But the other person, I literally had to look and say, oh, who is this person? I have to find out who this person is because this picture is not the girl I met. They look nothing alike. And then they show these two pictures. And Tia looked exactly like Tia. But the other person looked absolutely nothing like Angel. And I mean nothing. I mean, did you guys see that? That was wild. It really didn't look like her at all. There was no, like, what, to me, I'm sorry. I would not have looked at that person and said, oh, is that so-and-so? Like, there, I would have thought absolutely 100% another person. Not like, I don't know. I need to know what you guys thought. Did you see her anywhere in that picture? Because I'm telling you, I didn't. I did not see the Angel that I have been looking at, who I think is a beautiful woman. I mean, she's beautiful the way she is, but that picture looks nothing like her, period. Nothing. And there were a lot of those pictures that they showed on that carousel. I felt the same way about. It was so unbelievable. And then to camera, Ashley even said, I'm really wondering who that person is because that looks nothing like the Angel I know. She says, I was genuinely baffled. And I'm thinking, yeah, me too. I mean, who wouldn't be? Then the women all arrive at the villas. They're greeted by pink carpets. And then when they walk in, they all find really cute personalized pink robes, pink makeup bags, personalized notes. They all got one except Stacy. Her stuff is just pink with no personalization. Because according to Giselle, she still doesn't know who she is or what she is. And honestly, I fully felt that and I have never loved her more. Then it's time for dinner. Stacy's seated across from Kiarna. She looks at her and says, Kay, we don't talk, so I don't know, but are you back with Greg? And she says, yeah. And Stacy says, oh, that's good. Great. Giselle says from down the table, I didn't know you two weren't talking. And Kay says, well, I think we had some good chit chat. And Stacy says, did we? And she says, yeah, well, when I woke up, I asked you if you had some gum and you asked me how Angel was doing. And Angel says, well, what was your concern, Stacy? And Stacy says, well, I was just asking her how you were doing, how you were adjusting into this group. And then Angel takes on this very performative air and she says, oh yeah, I'm doing great. I'm doing very well. And the best way to get to know me is to just have a conversation with me. And then you see Giselle's eyes. She is prepped and ready and standing in that batter's box like she is Shohei Ohtani. She's about ready to knock Angel and her Facetune delusions right out of the park or off the island. Ashley says to camera, I feel like it's been a real mixed bag with the ladies. I haven't really felt a lot of support. Angel tells the ladies that she's not too talkative with people that she doesn't know. And Tia says, well, you know, I haven't really seen you talk to Wendy at all. And then Wendy addresses the tension that arose between them at Kiarna's house. And she goes on to tell her that she's not the only one that felt like her energy was off today. And then Giselle hits her with the, well, can we talk about your social media? Because I've been confused. She says, I see all these posts and they say they're you, but it doesn't look at all like the woman I'm sitting across from. She says, Angel, I did not know that that was you in those pictures. And honestly, I feel like I'm being catfished. And then someone shows Angel the picture that she's referring to and she says, oh no, that particular photo was not filtered. And I'm thinking, was not filtered? I mean, it might not have been filtered, but if it wasn't filtered, it definitely wasn't her. And now I'm starting to wonder if she's just as whacked out as Stacy, just in a different way, but kind of the same way. Ashley says, I saw it and I thought the same thing. And Angel says, that's a picture I took a while ago. And Tia says, you know, she had a baby just 18 months ago. And then Angel says again, like I said, that picture is not filtered. And Giselle says, it's not filtered? She says, well then babe, that's not you. And Angel says back, that's super, super me. And at this point, I'm thinking she's fucking crazy. Giselle says, Angel, we're down for the filters. Look at Wendy. I mean, she's the queen of them. She says, but then I looked at your page and none of those pictures look like this woman here. And that's when they show that carousel of IG shots. And honestly, it is fucking insane. I mean, it's full-blown Delulu. I mean, it looks like a different person. It's not like she made her lips a little bigger or smoothed her skin a little. It's everything. It's a fucking different face, you guys. Then to camera, Angel says very seriously, to say that I would edit a picture to look completely unlike myself, that's taking it to the next level. She says, and there are some ladies laughing at this table that are so insecure that they had to run to the surgeon's office to get their entire body transformed so they could constantly look like an Instagram filter. Wendy. And she's not wrong. Wendy's the one laughing, and she's the one that had that full body makeover. And I do mean full. Giselle says, looking at you and looking at those pictures, they don't look alike. Ashley says, it really doesn't look like you. Stacy says, well, who does it look like, Ashley? And Ashley says, I don't know, maybe like Angel's stunt double? And that is kind of who it looked like. It kind of looked like if Ashley met Lara Croft. If you smashed her face into Angelina Jolie's, that's what the picture looked like. Then Angel says to the girls, look, this isn't the Attack Angel show. And then Wendy comes back with, well, what Giselle is saying is that who you purport yourself to be here is not who you purport yourself to be on social media. Then Wendy says, and when we were at Kiarna's house, she said to you, do you even like that lady? She says, and that exposed you both. And Angel says, how? How did that expose us? And Giselle says, because it proved that the two of you have been talking about all of us. Then Giselle turns to Wendy and says, are you good? And Wendy says, I'm always good. Then Wendy turns to Giselle and says, I just want to tell you, I thought you did a really good job. I love all the pink, the robes, the card, the makeup bag. She said, but when I was walking through the house, I noticed that there wasn't one for Stacy. What happened there? And Stacy says, yeah, I'd like to know too. Why was my card empty? And Giselle says, card? You weren't even supposed to get a card. And she says, well, why not? You don't know my name? And she says, I know your name, but I don't know who you are, and I don't know what you are, and I don't trust you. And Stacy says, well, I think it's really funny that you try to hold me to this standard and this level of accountability, and like I'm supposed to divulge everything to you. You all want to talk about my relationships? Well, what about your relationship, Giselle? Huh? Why don't we talk about yours? Because you have a whole man. I'm telling you guys, this Stacy, oh my God, nothing she does lands. Nothing. I mean, she really thought she was going to land a big blow on Giselle, and it honestly did nothing but fall flat. She says his name is Sean. He played in the NFL. Then she hands Giselle her phone and says, stop playing. Stop playing. What? She says to everyone, his name is Sean Spriggs, like she's like breaking news. And he played in the NFL. And all the girls are like, oh, hey, we got another wag. Stacy says, and I will say he's very cute. And Giselle says, he's cute. And he's not my boyfriend. She says, this isn't my boyfriend. This is a date. And Stacy says, well, that's not what the streets are saying. And Giselle says, the streets? What streets? And she says, the streets. Jassy asks Ashley if she's met him, and Ashley's like, doo-doo-doo. Ashley tries to avoid the question, but then she says, yes, we were actually together the night that they met. She says he was wearing a cute Fendi sweater. She said that he was wonderful, that he fully came correct, and that the two of them have been out on a couple dates. And then Wendy says, and are they still dating? And Giselle says, yes, he's still around. And Giselle says, yeah, he's still around. And then to camera, Giselle says, if I'm around anyone, these girls automatically assume that this is my boyfriend. And he's going to be my fiance. And then he's going to be my husband. And then she says, but that's just not how life works. Then Ashley says, maybe before Stacy goes digging into Giselle's personal life, she should clean up her own. And then Ashley pulls a power move that no one sees coming, and she says, so raise your hand if you've been on at least one date with an NFL player. And when Stacy doesn't raise her hand and it's obvious that she's trying to ignore the question, Ashley calls her out. She says, what about you, Stacy? And Stacy goes, huh? I didn't even hear you. And she says, really? You've never been out with an NFL player? That's funny, because my friend reached out to me and she told me that you approached her to help you get close with someone that almost everyone at this table knows. And Stacy's face looks stunned. And then Ashley says, a former NFL player that used to be on this show. And Wendy screams, no, Stacy! And Jassy yells, Chris Samuels? And there we are. So the Chris Samuels of it all is literally on the table. And this is the scene that sets the scene for Monique's big return. And honestly, I cannot wait. All right, everybody, that about does it for this episode of Generally Speaking. I have to get on the road, but thank you so much for being here. I have loved spending this time with you. If you've been watching us on YouTube, please make sure you reach out and smash that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that follow button, leave us a comment, leave us a 5-star rating. We would love that. If you'd like to collaborate or have a question you'd like answered on the pod, you can reach me at jennifer@jennifersnook.com. And if you'd like to find me on socials, you can find me on TikTok at This Is Generally Speaking or on Instagram at The Jennifer Snook. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here. And until we're together again, everybody, stay rooted in love. We'll see you next time.